Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to decode the absolutely mind-bending philosophy of the perfection of wisdom, which is drawn straight from the ancient texts of the Mahaprajnapa Paramita Upadesha. If you've ever felt like your spiritual or personal growth journeys are hitting a brick wall, the insights we're about to unpack might completely shatter how you view progress, effort, and, well, reality itself.
So, think about this for a second. What if the absolute biggest obstacle to reaching your ultimate spiritual goal is the very fact that you are trying so hard to reach it? I know it sounds like a paradox, right? But really let that sink in. It plunges us right into the core mystery of the ancient text we're exploring today.
All right, let's jump straight into part one, good dharmas as obstacles. We're kicking things off with a pretty massive shift in perspective. In this really fascinating dialogue between the sage Subhuti and the heavenly king Indra, we learn about something called gross obstacles. Now, practicing the six perfections, things like charity, morality, and patience, that's obviously a good thing. But here's the catch. When a seeker gets attached to the idea that they are the one practicing these virtues, it literally becomes a trap. You're doing good, sure, but you're also building up this massive ego around being a good person.
Think about the contrast here between ego-driven action and true, boundless action. On one hand, you have the mindset, I am giving charity. That completely binds you. It just reinforces the illusion of a doer, a permanent self who feels superior simply because they're giving. But then on the other hand, you have charity is given. See the difference? It's an action totally free from the illusion of the ego. It just happens, naturally and perfectly, without anyone needing to take credit for it.
The brilliant philosopher Nagarjuna actually uses a really powerful analogy for this in his commentary. Just imagine your absolute favorite meal. It's beautiful, it's nutritious, it's delicious. But if you completely gorge yourself on it, you're going to get sick. The text uses this to show that even the most beautiful spiritual practices can actually become poisonous if we overindulge our egos in them.
Moving right along to part two, the subtlest of attachments. Now, right when practitioners think they've got a handle on those gross obstacles, the Buddha drops a pretty shocking hidden trap on us. Turns out, even taking joy in visualizing the Buddhas, or desperately desiring ultimate enlightenment, are considered subtle obstacles. Wait, isn't the whole point to desire enlightenment? Well, according to the perfection of wisdom, nope. That grasping implies a lack. It implies that you are here and enlightenment is way over there. It's really just a super subtle form of separation.
Picture this imagery for a second. Our spiritual practices, our meditations, our good deeds, they act kind of like a fierce wind. They do incredible work by clearing away the clouds of our ignorance and attachments. But, and this is absolutely vital, the wind cannot create the sun and the moon. Our practices can't manufacture true wisdom. Wisdom is inherently uncreated. It's empty, and honestly, it's already shining right there once the clouds are gone.
Which brings us to part three, non-practice is true practice.
So this begs a huge question. If practicing with intent is an obstacle, and desiring enlightenment is a literal trap, how on earth do we actually walk this spiritual path? The text answers this by defining true Prajnaparamita as non-practice, or non-action. Now, to be clear, this does not mean just sitting on the couch doing absolutely nothing. It means we act, we live, we help others, but we do it entirely without clinging to dualistic concepts. We basically stop obsessively categorizing everything as permanent or impermanent, self or non-self, pure or impure.
To really put this non-action into practice, a bodhisattva, a being dedicated to enlightenment, has to let go of the five aggregates entirely. These are basically the building blocks of our human experience: form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. The goal isn't to destroy them, but you refuse to label them as binding or liberating. You simply let them be, fully recognizing their inherent emptiness.
All right, part four, like saving empty space.
This actually brings us to the climax of the philosophy, and it's this breathtaking paradox about a bodhisattva's vow to save all sentient beings. When the heavenly king Indra asks Subhuti how someone should go about protecting this profound teaching, Subhuti counters with this really vivid question. He asks, can you protect a dream, a mirage, an echo? It perfectly points out the total absurdity of trying to rigidly guard an illusion. And this applies directly to how they view the actual beings they are trying to save. Let's trace the logical progression here, because it structures the ultimate truth of the text. Step 1. Buddhists dedicate their entire existence to saving infinite beings. Step 2. The true nature of those beings is fundamentally empty. They literally don't possess an independent, permanent self. Step 3.
Therefore, even as countless beings are saved and reach nirvana, the absolute number of beings never actually increases or decreases. It's wild, right? Endless compassion operates perfectly precisely because, fundamentally, there is no separate being to save.
The commentary uses this absolutely stunning imagery for this. Imagine someone with an easel and a brush, trying to paint empty space, or trying to physically lift the sky. That is the vast, ungraspable nature of true spiritual effort when it's devoid of ego. A bodhisattva works tirelessly to help others, all while completely knowing that the others they are helping are just as boundless and empty as the sky itself.
And that takes us to our final section, Part 5, Prajna is inherently pure. So here we arrive at the ultimate nature of reality, and why this perfection of wisdom is absolutely flawlessly pure. The text draws a super fascinating comparison here. Normally, we think a physical voice coming from someone's mouth is real, while an echo bouncing off a canyon wall is fake, or just some illusion. But the text argues that fundamentally, both of them are just transient vibrations. Both are empty. The perfection of wisdom recognizes that all phenomena, whether they are holy or totally ordinary, are really just echoes in the valley of reality. And because it is exactly like empty space, prajna remains inherently pure. I mean, you can't throw dirt on the sky and stain it, right? You can't reach out and grab a handful of space. You definitely can't stab the void with a sword. It is totally, completely impervious to our attempts to define it, contain it, or destroy it.
The Buddha really drives this home with a beautiful quote. The true nature of reality is utterly unbothered by human opinions. If the whole world praises the truth doesn't get any bigger. If the whole world slanders and denies it, the truth doesn't shrink. It stands perfectly whole, vast, and completely unaffected, whether we understand it or not.
We've journeyed through the traps of doing good, the subtle illusions of seeking enlightenment, and the vast, empty sky of pure wisdom. So I really want to leave you with this final provocative thought to meditate on. If the text is right, if reality is entirely like a dream or an echo, who is the one trying to wake up? Thank you so much for exploring the perfection of wisdom with me in this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.